So let's go over to PS5 then. And so I think Sony's 2021 is actually gonna be really, really good. I think they have this thing set up. Like Nate, you already talking about Gran Turismo, but we know Ratchet is coming. Actually, I mean, dude, I think Ratchet's releasing like in the next couple months.
Yep, I think it's in the next 90 days. I think we're all going to be playing it.
I'm trying to think if it's coming out before or after Returnal though, because Returnal's out in March.
After, if they were going to have Ratchet released before Returnal, then they should have had Ratchet at the Game Awards and not made Returnal their only game of that entire showcase. That kind of indicates to me that their next two releases are Destruction Derby All-Stars and then Returnal, which makes me kind of feel like maybe Ratchet and Clank is either very late March or we're not getting it until their next fiscal year, which would be April.
Really? Okay, because I thought that game looked like, with how much they were showing it to us, I thought that was going to be out like real quick, the way they were talking about it, and it almost sounded like they were going to try to get it into like even launch at one point, the way they were mentioning the PS5, and here we are now in January, still trying to figure out if it's coming out.
I mean, it did seem like it should have been in those first few months, but Insomniac, they were busy with Miles Morales and Spider-Man Remastered, so we really don't know what the state of the Ratchet and Clank game was. It's just they showed so much of it at that initial event that it kind of was assumed that this was going to be a launch window game, which would still take us till May. So they could get within that window, but as much as I want Ratchet and Clank today, I just don't see it releasing before Returnal at this point.
I think it will, Nate. I think it's going to drop in February.
Yeah, I get that vibe too.
You think you're going to announce that state of play?
I really have no evidence to back that up with. It's just a feeling that I have. I feel like
it's Silent Hill all over again.
I feel like it's a February game.
I want a game to love in February.
It seems so done. That's my thing. It looks so complete.
We got to be careful though, because we've been down this road before when we think things are done when they show us things.
I heard Ratchet and Clank runs surprisingly well.
Yeah, right. We're gonna get cyberpunked. We're gonna have to call it getting cyberpunked from now on.
But we did hear the reports that we felt like Ratchet was a launch kind of game, or was I do think that it's just about there. I think it's almost ready to take out of the oven and
like let's say they have a state of play in like somewhere in the first 3 weeks of January. Would them telling us that it's out at the end of February really be that like too soon with how much they've shown us? Like, I feel like they could be like, if it was like, I don't know, like if it was the January 14th or something for a state of play, and they were like, hey, Ratchet and Clank's out right at the end of February. I feel like that's enough time for.
What do you want to give Ratchet and Clank a little more of a marketing window than Returnal?
Yeah, that's the only thing that I guess is against the February date, is that if they're going to move on Ratchet, they're going to have to do it pretty quickly, right? Yeah, I mean, we're going to need to know about it like in the next few weeks, right? So they can have that lead time.
I mean, couldn't they just tweet out the release date on Monday?
Well, yes, they could, but like I think it's more of a case of when you look at Returnal and Ratchet and Clank, as much as I love House Marquee and the games they have made, they're not a significant AAA tier developer. Returnal is $70, but it probably didn't have a huge budget. Ratchet and Clank likely had a bigger budget, and if I'm Sony, just from a business perspective, I want more PlayStation 5s in the hands of consumers when Ratchet and Clank launches. And right now, we're not there yet.
That's a really good point. I didn't really give that much thought. Yeah, I mean, do you think the scalpers and the fact that you can't get a PS5 right now is playing into that? Maybe they were thinking about February in an ideal world, but since no one can buy a PS5 anymore, maybe they are thinking about maybe making it a spring game for March or something.
I would wait. There's no point in right now launching this super cool, highly anticipated game, right? That could help move systems, but there's not systems to move. Like you want to get you want people to have the system so they can buy it. There's still a lot of scalpers out there that have systems, Like there's still a ton of them on there that, John, you were talking about how the prices are going down a bit because people are, haven't been buying them maybe as much because scalpers just have so many with their stupid bots. So, I mean, if I was Sony, I would wait till of course, till it's done, right? I mean, that's the thing that makes sure everything's great with it. But then also too, it's like, I mean, I think they said they have like 3.4 shipped right now.
Yep.
3.4 million shipped. I mean, that's good, but I mean, how much are you trying to sell? Like a lot of the sales do come in that first month.
Yes.
So if you don't have if you don't have like 5, 6, 7 million systems out, that's going to be rough on how many people are actually going to buy the game in that first launch month, which are your biggest sales. So, I mean, I might wait a little bit, but that's just me.
I mean, you'd also want to put some games out that would continue to sell PS5 hardware too.
True.
Throughout
But
the year.
there are third-party games coming out, and people just want the system based on what's already out, like Demon Souls and Miles Morales. People want the system, so even if they didn't release anything, like you can't get it, so people would still buy the system. And there's still third-party games coming out that would help with that. And then once it kind of gets back on track, you can say, okay, now we're going to release our big game here. Because even if they didn't release anything, like from Sony's first party, there's still plenty of third-party games that are going to help whatever stock does get into store. People are still going to rush out there and try to get it.
Sure. Yep. Yep,
So Nate, there's Ratchet and there's Gran Turismo. What else first party Sony's coming out this year? You said that Sony's going to have a big year. I mean, is it going to be that much bigger than Microsoft?
I mean, we're looking at a year where we should see Sony have Horizon God of War, Ratchet and Clank,
God of War is not coming out this year.
Okay, but let's pretend
their intent is this year. I think it gets delayed because the one thing Sony was consistent with the PlayStation 4 is that they would date games for a holiday, and they all got delayed until the following spring. So that could continue this time, and I kind of anticipated that it will. And God of War seems ripe for that delay, but their intent is to get it out this holiday. We'll see. But the majority of what they showed us,
you can't show a JPEG at the end of you can't show a JPEG at the end of the awards and say 2021.
Well, let me ask you this: do you think that would be an instance where how like Nintendo will have their own directs for a certain game? Do you think that game could get its own state of play kind of thing to build people up like midway through this year and be like, yeah, it's definitely coming out at the end of this year?
The way Ghost of Tsushima did?
Yeah,
I think anything PS5 exclusive first party Sony gets its own state of play.
Gets a nice treatment, nice like focus. Yeah, that would be cool to do that. And
Microsoft should definitely do the same with their event as well.
Well, here's where things get real interesting with Sony, because we just said, okay, God of War could be like the big anchor game at the end of this year for them. That I assume that would be like their big November title where it's like, this is the holiday title, it's God of War. And then we're talking about Horizon, we're talking about Gran Turismo, and then there's rumors of Final Fantasy 16 being pretty far along.
Yes.
Like, I almost wonder if Final Fantasy 16 could come out this year too.
I think it's their intention to have it out this year, at least this coming fiscal year. So before the end of March 2022 is their intention, but it's just a question of how smooth is development going, how smooth is localization going, will they actually achieve this goal? But it's in both of their favors to make that happen. And if it does, it's just going to look like once Sony really starts to drop in these releases, they're going to look really strong. It's just a question of when do we really start to count these releases? Do we count it in March with Returnal being the first one? Or are we going to wait until like a Ratchet and Clank drops and then we see Sony really hit their momentum for 2021? Because they've shown us what they have in store. We know Gran Turismo is supposed to be first half of this year, Horizon second half. They have their big hitters and their roadmap is laid out. Now we just have to get those dates plotted on it. And Sony still has announcements to make.
I like the idea of Final Fantasy 16 being, now that you're mentioning it, Nate, if we went along with their fiscal year, that was like a March 2022 release then, if that's one that ended up being a little further, or even God of War, because God of War 2018, that released in April.
Oh yeah, April.
So
20th.
After a delay.
So like God of War could even end up in March, and Final Fantasy 16 could end up in the holiday alongside of Horizon.
Yes.
Like that's very possible. But like that, I mean, that's a strong 12 months from Returnal to then God of War to finish up on the opposite side in March 2020. That is a strong 12 months. And you said they're still not done making announcements. Like Silent Hill has been rumored like to the moon and back at this point.
Here
Like
we go again.
talking about it. And I mean,
within the first 6 months of 2021, I think that's going to make some noise.
Yep.
but okay, that
When
game's
those
not
coins drop out.
that game's not coming out for a couple years though. That's gonna be a little longer. Like, but
At an absolute earliest, it's a second half 2022, probably early 2023.
so okay, what about Metal Gear Solid 1 remake?
Ooh.
Oh, where's
No
this coming
time
from?
Not anytime soon. If that happens, that's not until late 2023, early 2024.
So you're saying it could be at 3 different E3s like Spider-Man was. All right, good.
It's so far off, it's not even worth speculating about its existence.
Is this supposed to be the next Blue Point game?
Maybe.
Is that what you take? Was that what you're saying?
But hasn't this been a rumor that Blue Point's been making Metal Gear Solid 1 since the PlayStation?
There was a rumor that they had the concept phase done for it, and then they put it to the side, and they were working on Demon Souls, I guess, and now they're back to doing Metal Gear Solid. I don't know. Hey, you know what? I will say this: if Silent Hill does get announced and Konami's logo is actually there and they stepped out of the way, you know, I'll say, okay, you know what? It's possible because Konami could just say, hey, here's Metal Gear. Do what you want. We tried to do Survive. We're not going to do it anymore. So you go ahead and try it.
Well, I mean, Blue Point puts out a game roughly every 3.5 years. So if they are working on a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake, then we're looking at 2023. So they probably wouldn't announce it until 2022. So we gotta wait.
I mean, can you imagine what Metal Gear Solid 1 could look like on the PS5 and something like Unreal Engine 5?
Oh, it would look absolutely ridiculous.
That would be wild. Oh, that'd be good.
But
I just want that to be real.
How do you approach that game though?
Yeah, and how do you make it a PS5 exclusive as well if you remake Metal Gear Solid? Like, wouldn't Blue Point, wouldn't they want to put it on Game Pass and maximize the amount of money they're going to make on that thing?
Technically speaking, you're correct. Blue Point is not a Sony studio.
Well, it sounds like it. I mean, what if the Silent Hill
Sony licensing Metal Gear Solid 1 from Konami to make this port possible? That would be the only reason you'd keep it as an exclusive. But at the same time, if I'm Konami and I know I can contract Blue Point to do this project, wouldn't it be in my interest to have as many platforms as possible? Mm-hmm. And I just don't know how you approach that project. We saw the hate Twin Snakes got due to the changes and how the Ocelot fight was completely broken and it was far too simple in first person. So how do you approach Metal Gear Solid 1 in the modern day?
But Twin Snakes was awesome.
It was awesome. I love Twin Snakes.
Yeah, same.
I like how ridiculous it was. Yeah, I like the ridiculousness of it. Really, it was not a realistic game, but it was.
When Cyber Ninja cuts a hole from the ceiling the size of a waffle, and it drops down, and he does a backflip to shoot it at you, and then you Matrix dodge it. That's a good scene.
No matter what they do, though, people are gonna like. You can't worry about people like changing things because people are gonna complain regardless of it. So I think they just approach it like if they wanted to. I like the idea, you know, Konami could license, you know, not license, but Konami could just ask Blue Point if they really wanted to do it. But I guess Blue Point might have a lot of loyalty towards Sony and might not want to do something unless it was through them. I mean, I'm not sure how they operate too, though, because they've really only done Sony stuff since I've been following them.
Titanfall. Yeah.
I feel like it's probably just easier for them to go that route. They just make the game. They don't have to deal with like the licensing or any of that kind of stuff. And I mean, Sony probably has a lot of pull for that anyway. If they're getting Silent Hill from Konami, I mean, why wouldn't they have asked about something else like Metal Gear while they were there at the table?
Do you think? I don't think Konami.
I don't think there's a table though, John. Yeah. Like, I don't think this Konami thing is real. Like, I don't know. Like anyone that is thinking about Konami remaking these games again or being involved and getting Sony to remake these games, go to the Konami gaming website and look at all the slot machines that they make. There's about 300 to 400 slot machines. There's millions of slot machines around the world right now. They make more money in a single day than they'll make in sales of these games. There's no reason for them to make these games again.
But they made a terrible Contra game.
They did.
That game was terrible.
What about Momotaro?
They might just be doing those to put the nails in the coffins of their gaming division by showing their investors don't do it because this is terrible.
But that actually plays more into the Silent Hill idea though, because they wouldn't make it. They would just be signing some paperwork and collecting money.
I just wonder about the motivation, you know, for them to do something like this. I mean,
he's not wrong though, bro.
I'm telling you, man. Like, gambling is what they do now.
I went to a casino a couple months ago. I went to a casino for the first time, and I walked in there, and there were Konami slot machines. Like, they don't even say like Metal Gear Solid; they're just slot machines, and it said Konami across the top. And there's little old white ladies there pulling the slot machine all day. Like these aren't gamers, but they're paying gaming money.
I will put the link for you guys, just so you guys can see what I was laughing at. By the way, guys, if you guys want to know what I was laughing at, I put the link. I put the link in the chat. If you guys just want to check it out real quick.
Hey, when we had that siren stream, everyone's gonna say, "Oh my God, it's back."
Well, Nate, if they announce Silent Hill, I'll do a Nate the Hate with you, and I will tell you how wrong I was for 1 hour.
Do you have a house plant you can eat?
An hour? Hell yeah.